Hey everyone, before we dive in, please smash that subscribe button and help me reach my next goal of 10,000 subs. Drop a like if you enjoy these stories and let me know what you think down in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks so much. I've always been the type who believes you learn way more from what someone doesn't say than from what comes out of their mouth. And for a while now, my wife Sophia had turned into pure quiet. Not the cozy, comfortable kind. More like the heavy, scheming kind that hangs in doorways and hovers at the foot of the bed like it's waiting to pounce. For months she'd been pulling away, super guarded, glued to her phone like it was top secret. I'm 36, not some paranoid kid anymore, so it wasn't jealousy that tipped me off. It was the little things. Conversations that slammed shut the second I walked in. Work calls at 1 a.m., brand new passwords on everything, plans she suddenly wouldn't share. The real wake-up call hit one night when she left a folder open on her laptop. She didn't realize the glass door to the patio was acting like a mirror. I couldn't read it all, but one bright yellow highlighted line jumped out. Division of marital assets. At first I just felt empty, like everything suddenly made crystal clear sense. If she wanted out, fine, that's her call. But if she thought she was gonna ambush me and stroll off with half of everything I'd built years before we even met? Yeah, that wasn't happening. Not without a fight. My best buddy Alex is an estate planning wizard who spots red flags for a living. I told him what I saw and he didn't even flinch. Bro, she's lining up a divorce. Protect your stuff legally, openly. There's a huge difference between hiding and safeguarding. So over the next couple days we got busy. I moved my pre-marriage investments into an ironclad trust, retitled business shares, made sure every penny connected to my company stayed 100% in my name. All above board, totally transparent, just smart boundaries I should have set up from day one. I never breathed a word to Sophia, and she never mentioned the divorce she was cooking up. We were basically co-stars in some twisted play, smiling through scenes when we both knew the ending was already written. 2 weeks later she strutted into the living room like she'd already won the lottery. Ethan, we need to talk. I glanced up from the book I was pretending to read. Sure, what's up? She paused. Just long enough to pick the most dramatic version of the speech she'd clearly rehearsed 100 times. I've decided I want a divorce. There it was. I didn't yell. Didn't beg. Didn't even ask why. I just nodded. If that's what you want. You could practically hear the record scratch. She was ready for tears, screaming, bargaining. Anything but calm. She slid a fat stack of papers across the coffee table. I already had the first agreement drafted. It's totally fair. Fair. That word people throw around when they're actually trying to take way more than they deserve. I flipped through it. She wanted the house, alimony, a chunk of my company, stuff she figured was automatically hers. Okay, I said quietly. I'll send this to my lawyer. She blinked twice. You already have a lawyer? I like being ready. Her mouth tightened, but I caught the tiny flicker of panic in her eyes. For the next few days she floated around the house like she was on vacation. Humming, smiling, practically celebrating. She really thought a fat paycheck and freedom were waiting right around the corner. She had no clue the finish line had moved. Then the call from her attorney came, and suddenly she burst into my office white as a ghost. Ethan, why did my lawyer just tell me none of your assets are marital property anymore? What did you do? I closed my laptop nice and slow. Nothing. I just made sure what was mine before we got married stayed mine before you filed. Her voice cracked. But that's not how this was supposed to go. Not how what was supposed to go. She froze. And right then, every lie she'd been carrying just poured out of her eyes. All her perfect plans crumbled in real time. She collapsed into the chair across from me, shaking. Ethan, I think I made a mistake. I let out a long breath. More exhausted than mad. No, Sophia. You just didn't think there'd be consequences. That's when the backpedaling started. For the first time in forever, she wasn't icy or annoyed. She was terrified. And that fear confirmed everything I'd already figured out. This wasn't about falling out of love or growing apart. This was calculated. She turned our marriage into an exit strategy with a nice payout attached. I leaned back and watched her hands shake. What exactly was the mistake? She swallowed hard. I didn't think you'd react like this. Like what? Like a man who sees he's being played. Tears welled up. Tears she never used to let me see. No, like someone who doesn't even want to fight for us. I almost laughed. You weren't planning to fight for us, Sophia. You were planning to fight for my money. Her face twisted. Not with guilt but frustration. She wasn't sorry her plan failed. She was pissed it failed before she cashed in. Ethan, I was overwhelmed. I wasn't thinking straight. I never wanted to hurt you. You never wanted to hurt me, I repeated slowly. But you printed divorce papers before you ever said a word to me. That was just preparation, she mumbled. No. That was premeditation. Silence. Years of loyalty, security, and love, and she'd mistaken my steadiness for stupidity. She thought she could raid the vault while playing the victim. Now that the vault was locked, suddenly she wanted to stay. She straightened up, reached for my hand. Can we just slow down? Think about us. I pulled back gently. 2 weeks ago you'd already made up your mind. That was a mistake. I was emotional. No, you were confident. There's a difference. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I just didn't think you'd walk away so easily. I shook my head. There's nothing easy about this. But you don't get to blindside a man and then expect him to beg you to stay. For days after that she tried every trick in the book. Cooking my favorite dinners, leaving sweet notes, suggesting romantic getaways, turning flirty again after months of nothing. Every move more desperate than the last. But trust doesn't get patched with lasagna and love notes. One night on the couch she curled up next to me and whispered, "Tell me what I can do to fix this." "Anything." "Tell me the truth," I said. She went stiff. "What truth? Why were you planning the divorce? Why were you drafting asset splits before you even talked to me?" She hesitated way too long. Hesitation is its own answer. Finally she breathed out, "I just thought, if things ever went bad I needed to protect myself." "No," I said. "You wanted to profit from leaving. That's not protection. That's a hustle." The tears came harder, but tears don't undo intent. "Ethan, I want to stay married. I'll do better, I promise." "Sophia, you didn't want me. You wanted the lifestyle that came with me. The second you realized you couldn't take it with you, suddenly you remembered you loved the marriage." "I do love you," she whispered. "You love the safety," I answered. She didn't argue. 5 days later I filed for divorce myself. Not for revenge, not out of spite, just for peace. When the papers were served, she appeared in my office doorway looking completely defeated. "This isn't how it was supposed to end." I looked up calm. "It ended the second you started planning a future that didn't include me." While still sleeping in my bed. Her lip trembled. "I never thought you'd actually leave." "That's the whole problem," I said. "You banked on my loyalty while building your escape hatch." She stood there a long time, small, shaken, finally understanding the life she thought she had total control over had slipped away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I hope you find whatever it is you're actually looking for," I replied. She walked out of the house she once assumed was half hers, and for the first time in months the silence was gone. The air felt clean. Honest. And I learned a hard, simple truth. A man doesn't lose when someone decides to betray him. He loses when he ignores the warning signs screaming in his face. This time I listened.